Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. I am John, my co-host is Andy, and we are talking episode 12 of Survivor Game Changers, the one where Officer Sarah came to slay your faves. Andy, are you as shocked as I am that Michaela did not want to suddenly align with fan favorite Sierra Dawn Thomas after weeks of Sierra trash talking her?
Well, I mean, it's a little surprising, but I thought there was kind of like a sisterhood amongst the Tall that kind of overrides everything, but apparently not. I mean, I wouldn't know from Tall, so it was just something I've always assumed.
I've heard an expression that you can't teach Tall.
That's close. I think you're losing something from the translation from the original German.
It didn't translate out to Fiji, apparently.
Apparently not. Apparently, Fiji has decided that being tall is not an advantage in every challenge, because that was a bit of a problem last night.
Yes, it was. I actually kind of figured that Ty's group would do really well on that challenge, because in general they were pretty, well, not small, but they were thinner people that could slide under that log pretty well. Turns out, no.
They were the worst. Like, how did it take that long to get Ty through? Like, clearly, it's just like, we don't need to dig. Was that the plan? So, welcome everybody to our show where we're just going to really break down the challenges, because that's what you people have been asking for. Just the minutia. Just all of it.
It's what we're known for. We are challenge fans. We just obsess over every detail of challenges. It's why we have such a large listener base.
And I think what you really need to notice about that challenge is Brad Culpepper's form when throwing. He was really kind of extending over the top, and that's what you want to do. Throw over with the shoulder. Okay, let's get this back in track.
All right, hey, you know what? Let's instead talk about a better topic that perhaps some people might want to discuss. Cirie.
Yeah, Cirie. She's doing so awesome. Awesome things are happening. Cirie has been part of the vote for 4 of the past 5, of the 4 of the 5 post-merge votes. And Andrea has been, escaping pending doom every week, no matter how many times we predict it's going to happen. It didn't happen. Didn't happen again last night. The aforementioned Sierra Dawn Thomas goes home. So this is all good things. We've been wanting Sierra Dawn Thomas to go home for a long time.
Yes.
Cirie is doing awesome.
Yes.
Andrea is regarded as the biggest competitor out there.
Yes.
So why aren't we excited yet?
I don't know. I mean, from a pure game perspective, it does feel like we should be like, hey, other than the early setbacks of this season, the people that we wanted to see do well are doing pretty well. This should be great. But I just feel like the things that the show is communicating to us indicate that you shouldn't get your hopes up.
And no, I mean, part of our argument why we were looking forward to the season and we weren't among the nervous Nellies, or frankly, the Cassandras out there who, and that's the Cassandras of, myth, not of, say, Fiji. Out there saying, no, it's going to suck and it doesn't matter. All these bad people were cast and, your favorites always get slayed early. It's like, there's so many favorites that somebody's gotta last, right? And they have. Cirie is killing it. And she's, as I said, every vote but the Aussie one has been her thing. And she had a pretty good plan going in there until somebody just had to make big moves to ruin it all. Andrea has won 2 challenges. She escapes again. She looks like she's in a good position. People had every reason to turn against her, and she didn't. Those are 2 players we were really excited about. Aubrey is a part of that alliance. Another player we're excited about. Michaela, doing well still. Seems like she's got a clear path to the final episode. Pre-merge boot to final episode. Doing well. And yeah, I still am not excited at all, and I think this is a problem. And I don't think the problem is with us. I think it's the show. I think the show screwed up big.
If you just judge the show on a weekly basis, which we tend to do for the podcast because, that's what we can do, I think the episodes have been very good. I think there's been 1 or 2 duds along the way, but that's really not a bad track record. I think it's just, it kind of feels like it's a book with really good chapters that writes itself into a corner, and it's going to have a bad ending, and now we're just at the point where we're waiting for the bad ending.
Yeah, and there are people out there who's like, why aren't you getting more excited? As we just outlined, all of the good things happening. I mean, like, Rob did a 20-hour podcast last week where Cochran was like, hey, why are people complaining? I don't understand. And it's like, the reason why is because you'd have to, willfully just ignore all of the clues based on the way Survivor has been telling stories for, the past several years. So yeah, to get all excited that our faves are doing well now would be like, man, I really think this Rob Stark is going to do it all. It's like,
Right.
we know how this is going to go. Yeah, we feel we could be wrong, but I almost argue like if we are wrong, it still gets to the argument, that I'm building towards, which is the show screwed up. I think the show screwed up big in their storytelling this season. And I think it's because they're trying to tell the protagonist story, the protagonist being, the winner and, possibly the runner-up or, the fourth place or whatever, the major contenders, right? Which is what they do often, right? And the big problem this time is they aren't people we like. And we've been dancing around this. We've been talking about it. I mean, all the way back since, Malcolm went home. I might have even kind of hinted at it when like Caleb went home, which is somebody I didn't, I never gave a crap about Caleb, but just the pattern that was being set, is not just that people that we cheered for and we were excited about have gotten voted out. It's not even just that the people that are seem to be doing well edit-wise are people we weren't excited about going into the season. It's that the other people, the people that are doing well right this very minute, were so underfeatured that we just can't believe that this is going to lead to a good outcome. And we should. Right now, in an alternate universe, if they just gave us a little bit more of Andrea and Cirie, prior to the merge, and a little bit less of Brad and Sarah, we would be having an amazing time. And sure, that, then they turn around and lose later, it would hurt. I don't care. Make it hurt. Make us care. Make us invested, because I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it would have felt like they were pulling the rug out from under us in that scenario, so maybe that's why they didn't do it.
But that's fine. It's a competition. Sometimes teams get up to big, 3-1 leads and then they lose. Like, that's fine. We can, see somebody lose in spectacular fashion. It wouldn't be like that they were lying to us edit-wise, because they are currently, at this exact moment in the game, doing very well. And we should feel that for them, and we're not.
Right. Just take the objective measurement of Cirie's game. She hasn't come up as a target once that we've seen. She had an awesome, mentoring moment with Michaela. She had a great mother-son moment with her kid. She's, as you mentioned, steered a bunch of votes. There's enough of a story there that just from having watched this show, if they'd sprinkled in a little bit more Cirie throughout the season, we would think, man, she is in a really good spot right now. And instead, you're just waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah, and if her allies had gotten more shine early on, if Andrea had gotten more, we might feel like, she's too big a target and she'll go down. But we wouldn't have been predicting her to, and you're really into my argument because you didn't give me a phrasing there. We wouldn't have been predicting her to go home every week. Wrongly, but still. We would feel like she could do well, and she could aid Cirie in doing well. If Aubrey hasn't been the forgotten member of this cast, in some cases, literally, when I'm running numbers of who's on each side, she's the last person I think of now.
As I was watching last night, before it got to the vote, my wife and I usually pause, okay, who do you think's going to vote for who? And we both totally forgot that Aubrey's even in the game still.
Yeah, and I'm not even arguing they should have given why aren't they giving her killer confessionals? I kind of think she's just spent, physically and emotionally from everything that's going on. I don't think she's a crackerjack material unless food is involved. But if she had just been a little more present, we would again feel like her side isn't about to lose this whole time. Because her side's been winning. They've stayed winning through this whole time, and I don't believe it for a second. And I think that's a complete failure of the edit. Andrea and Cirie should feel like legit contenders in this game at this exact moment, and they don't. It feels like it's a two-person season, and one of those people is on an alliance of two right now. That's how imbalanced it is. And part of it is because it is a returnee season. So our antennas go up when the only time we're seeing non-mono tribe scenes are given to Sarah and Brad of all people. So it's okay, that means something. And then even more, that they're not being given to Cirie and Andrea and people like that. Aubrey. Whereas in a new season, maybe it would be okay. I know some people are holding out hope that maybe Cirie is going to have some late stage Natalie Anderson type run. Two things. One, Suri is not freaking Natalie Anderson.
No.
She's a 4-time survivor who the show loves. They brought her back to be a star.
And the audience loves.
Exactly, yes. She's not just like a GameBot fan. She's not just a hardcore fan. She is a Facebook favorite. They would be giving her shine if she was the winner all the way throughout, even if they had to force feed it. And
they would have gone full Boston Rob on her. Like, it would have been, 3 episodes in and you'd be like, wow, Suri's gonna win. This is amazing.
Yeah. And then 2 is that, Natalie Anderson actually wasn't that, invisible in the first half of the season. She was a backseat driver a bit to, Jeremy, but she was present throughout to the point where, like, at the merge episode where, it was one of the worst, if not the worst merge episode of all time with Julie quitting. You and I, on the podcast, were like, what can happen to make this season good? 'Cause, the pre-merge also sucked. And your answer was replace the entire cast. And mine was Natalie Anderson winning. And that was when Jeremy was still in the game. That was when Josh was still in the game. And I'm not somebody who likes to find obscure faves. So she was a featured character and had her moments in a way that Suri has not. So as much as I'd love to believe that Suri could win this game, the show has not given me any reason. If she somehow won, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing, show? Why did you not give me more of Suri in her greatest season ever?
Yeah, dereliction of duty there, because if you've got Suri game winner material, you show the Suri game winner material.
Yeah, so I think the edit has been a big problem. We should feel right now that Suri and Andrea are in a great spot, and I don't. And, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Which gets to the second problem of this season, is, the people that we do feel good. It's not just that we don't want Brad or Sarah to win. Although, I don't really want Brad or Sarah to win. They'd be fine, and we're actually gonna say some nice things about Sarah later on. It's just not fun. Nobody is having fun. Suri isn't having fun unless her, awesome son is there. Nobody this season is having fun, and Jeff Pittman mentioned this in his column last week, and it really just kind of put a finger on everything you and I have been kind of dancing around all season, where we were like, oh, the boring people are going to take charge. Oh, we keep losing the fun people. It's like, even nobody is having fun. It just seems like every time we get scenes with people, character development scenes, they're basically just sitting around talking about how much it sucks to be there.
Yeah. And the thing is, I know you are the type that if someone had risen from mediocrity and, taken control of the game, that would have made them an instant favorite for you. The thing is, Sarah and Brad becoming the 2 front runners it doesn't feel like we're going to get Sarah versus Brad. It's not like 2 people heads of an alliance who they're going to go head to head and we're going to see one of these people actually become a good Survivor player. It just feels like an eventuality. Like they're just, one of them's going to get to the end and they're going to win because they played a pretty good game.
Yeah, and I'd say more like, Sarah gets the end and wins. I think it's probably because she played a really good game. If Brad gets there, it's because a lot of things fell apart and then the end zone opened up for him. Because that's how it feels right now anyway. But like neither of them are engaging in doing it. And back when it really looked like Brad was the winner, and I said this is like, for Brad to win, he has to actually tape down everything that's interesting about him. And he's pretty much done that. Yeah. Up to including this episode, which, could have been like a big triumphant Brad Culpepper and Monica are reunited, is a thing that, apparently some people are invested in. Whatever. It was fine. Like, it wasn't that big a deal. So, yeah, but it's just like Suri doesn't seem to be having much fun. And like, this is the woman who was like, had the most infectious giggle ever. Aubrey just seems like a zombie out there. Andrea has not had any fun since her friend turned on her. And I almost think like some of this is just like the psychic penalty of what happened with Varner. Maybe that sucked the fun out of those people too. And then, we also had the other half of people just plain aren't fun. Regardless of what you think of Sarah, her politics, what do you think of her gameplay? She's not a fun person. Maybe she is amongst her friends, but she doesn't pop on camera. And if this is her season, it's just like, and like, you and I, we've been, thought of, they're strategy focused, game boss or whatever. But like more and more, it's like, man, just give me somebody who entertains me. I think maybe Tony just like destroyed Survivor in some ways for me.
He broke us.
Yeah, because it's like, that's what I want. That's what I want from a season and a winner, is somebody who does lots of things and is having the time of their life. And instead, all the people that were going to have fun were taken out early.
And it's really that we're setting expectations way too high, because most winners, if you go back and look at the history of the show, are not Tony. They're not that level. I think part of it, and you kind of touched on it, part of it with Sarah is that, even when she's playing a great game, and to be fair, I think she's playing a very good game, she doesn't explain her great game to us in an interesting way. She might have little catchphrases here and there. I'm going to play like a criminal, whatever. It's just, you're not investing me in how well you play. You're not giving me something to root for because I don't know that much about how your mind is working. You're just blathering out some platitudes at me, and I want to know what's going on in your mind.
Yeah, and it's just, yeah, exactly. It's not engaging. And in fact, I think in some ways it's like helped her in some people's eyes because, they don't think that she is like, this big game mover because she doesn't sound exciting about it. Whereas, somebody who talks about it more is like, oh, shut up, Sierra or Zeke, about your big moves. Because, they talk a big game. Sarah doesn't. Even though she's saying the big game things. She's literally saying that, like, I'm not here to make friends. I'll backstab anyone. I'm here to play a criminal. But it's all with the same, flat affect that everybody, just seems like, see, she's just a calm player who is focused on relationships and all of that. As though, like, other people aren't, just because they also want to talk about doing things on Survivor. Because she is. She's making fantastic relationships, but she's also making a hell of a lot of big moves. But nobody feels like she is because she doesn't make it seem big. And that's, if she is the winner of the season, it's, it's almost perfect. Yeah. The season of things that should feel great, just not, because it's taken on the personality of its winner.
Yeah. And it's just, it feels too middle of the road. And really, like I said, setting the bar at Tony is way too high. No one is that.
But how about Mike? How about Natalie Anderson? How about Adam bores the hell out of me, but he was sure as hell excited to be there. Yeah. When he wasn't dealing with the, intense trauma that he was going through in his personal life. But it's just like everybody there is just like, other than like Ty, who just is somebody who still exudes some level of, wonder and excitement about the world. Although often he isn't, has to tame it down because nobody wants to hear it.
You don't want to be the excited person at a funeral, basically.
Yeah. But, when he goes through like a challenge, and he'll be like, oh man, this is awesome. Michaela, one of the biggest, brightest characters ever, is basically just kind of like, well, I guess I'm not really allowed to talk. So, like, the fun and joy have been sucked out of her by, like, just all these people who have just treated Survivor like it's a burden that was just forced upon them. And, like, I get that it's, like, hard. I get that you're tired and cranky and hungry. But, so has every other person that's ever played Survivor, and they didn't make me feel this way. At least not the, better seasons, right? Like, this isn't quite Africa, but sometimes it feels like it's Africa, even though, like, I kind of feel like it hasn't been that big a hardship. Like, they can drink all the water they want. We haven't had the downpour rain episode. That hasn't seemed like it's, like, super hot. But, like, nobody seems to want to be there except to win. And maybe now I'm starting to see all the arguments that people have, like, put out there about returnee seasons not having, like, the joie de vivre. There's your word that Andy has only ever read in his life, but tried to say on a podcast. Joie de vivre?
Yeah, it's French, so, you should theoretically be better at
I know! I took, like, many, many years of French. Of like a, newbie season where they're excited. Cause everybody just seems like they're on a business trip and they kind of hate everybody else who is getting in their way. And, I want to do stuff, have fun. That's what the season should be. And like, it's close to that, but it's not clicking.
Yeah, it's got some parts, but the parts don't add up to a cohesive and fun whole. Ooh, phrasing.
Now, maybe we should talk about something that was kind of fun. And that's, Sierra Dawn Thomas screwing everything up.
The long-awaited slaying of Sierra Dawn Thomas. And I don't mean Sierra slaying people. I mean Sierra getting slayed. By her own hand. Because Sierra, who had said, like, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody about this legacy advantage. I've got this thing in my back pocket. Needs an ally. And then goes to talk to Sarah, who, again, you should. Because Sarah seemingly has connections everywhere. Talks to Sarah and then decides, I know how I'll bond with Sarah. I'll tell her about my legacy advantage. Great. It's actually not a terrible idea. The one thing that was a terrible idea is telling her what the legacy advantage does.
And everybody, there would be people jumping in. It's like, well, Jessica Lewis did that, and it really bought Ken's trust.
Yeah.
Ken's
is a different human being.
Yeah, and than most anybody.
Yes.
And just because that worked didn't mean it was a good idea. And there's other people who are trying to give some kind of passing defense of like, well, she didn't see that season. She didn't know how it worked. The very first time you and I heard about this legacy advantage and how it worked, before any footage had aired on television, it was in, pre-seasons, our first instinct was, you never tell somebody that you have it because you're incentivizing them to vote you out. And again, and people are like, well, you're not starving on an island. Sierra got that the day she shipped out to where the gameplay. She was not starving either. She probably had a decent breakfast that morning. She's had plenty of time to clear-headedly think about the fact that you don't tell somebody about this because it incentivizes them to vote you out. And that's what happened.
And to bring it back to Tony, wow, Tony's getting more burn in this podcast than he has all season. Put this in Tony's hands. She's had this since day one. Tony could have had that thing for half an hour, just read the note and walked back to camp. And within that half an hour, he would have convinced Sarah or whoever else he's telling that he has an advantage that can keep his whole alliance safe. Like, he would have come up with some scheme that made him having the legacy advantage some reason to keep him in the game.
Yeah, it allows me to vote after the votes are cast. I can come back in the game even if I got voted out.
Anything.
You don't even have to lie that much. If you vote me out, this idol will get played by one of my allies. And I'm telling them that it will be you. Like, it's just that simple. You just have to be like, oh, we should be together. I have this advantage. But if I get voted out, I'm giving it to you. Like, that's just madness. And again, yeah, it worked out, for Jessica Lewis, but yeah, that's lucky. That's just lucky and extreme circumstances of having somebody with a complete different value and honor system than has seen on Survivor since Colby took Tina to the finals. So yeah, no, and like, some people like, oh, maybe that's not why she got voted out. Sarah seemed to want to vote Sierra out anyway. Maybe. But it sure didn't hurt. I think Sarah then had that motivation that when the tables were turning, it looked like Andrea was going to go, which seems like something Sarah would be okay with. Michaela telling her that, she's like, no, I want to get that advantage. I want 2 advantages. And yeah, if it didn't change Sarah's mind, it kind of seemed like it changed Michaela's mind.
I honestly don't think that Michaela was all that on board with keeping Sierra around. I do think that, Sarah was actually probably leaning towards getting rid of Sierra anyway, but hearing that she might get something out of it was a nice bonus. So it probably, if she was on the fence, and I think she was probably leaning Sierra anyway, probably gave her a solid push to be like, yeah, this is the right call.
Yeah, I kind of think that Michaela was leaning. I mean, why else would Michaela tell Sarah that they're going to vote out Andrea if she wasn't thinking of doing it? Like, that would have screwed it all up if Michaela was actually intending to vote out Sierra at that moment. So I think in the moment of that discussion, that was probably where she was leaning. If not, then that's really stupid for a thing for Michaela to do. Hey, I'm actually going to vote out Sierra, but I'm going to tell you, alliance partner, that I'm voting out Andrea. So I think we can take that one a bit at face value. Yeah, there's just no defense for it. And frankly, I respect Sierra a bit from her exit interviews, and then she hasn't offered any defense other than it was a huge screw up, and I just kind of took my mind off the game by making an emotional decision. I kind of like that, because a lot of people try to twist these things into, oh no, you weren't out there, you don't understand if I had this and X and that.
Yeah. Here was my strategy.
Yeah, it reminds us that, people make emotion-based decisions in Survivor sometimes, especially in the states that they're in. So yeah, I respect her for that, but I don't respect her at all for anything she did in this game. I gotta say, like, seeing her screw that up so badly, and shout out to Barbara Anderson, who I think summed this up really well, that this is the second time in Sierra Dawn Thomas's Survivor career that she screwed up the why you shouldn't vote me out tonight argument.
Mm-hmm.
Last time in Worlds Apart, she was like, oh, you should keep me around because, you know, I haven't betrayed anybody and the jury really likes me.
Stellar argument.
Yeah, and this time it's like, you should keep me around because if I were to get voted out, you would receive an advantage that you didn't know existed until 5 minutes ago. So bravo Sierra for that. I mean, bravo Sierra for not realizing that Sarah had voted for her, even though she really only had to do the math of 2 other votes, and she had 2 allies going into this. Tough call there.
Yeah.
Again, to her credit, she admits that she was just completely duped by Sarah. But when you see how Sierra screwed this up so royally, an advantage that all it required her to do was kind of wait.
And we should point out, waiting is kind of in her skill set.
Yeah, that's her thing. That's what we saw. She got it in the premiere. It's like perfect. She doesn't have to, she just has to wait till the last minute to play it. This is you. When you see how her and Brad's alliance just completely crumbled after Debbie got voted out, and their only play to try to fix the situation has basically been to show the other side their bellies and just beg them to bring them back on. For me, it kind of almost makes me realize why somebody might have wanted to join up with that side, say, just right after the merge. Just possibly, just throwing that out there. I know it was a horrible, completely stupid move that there was no justification for whatsoever. But you look at the side that's beating them right now, and they're holding strong. They're resilient. They've got moves. They've got counter moves. You look at Brad, Sierra, Troy. They got nothing, man. So yeah, I kind of feel like I understand why somebody might have been like, yeah, I could do well over there if I could just find a way in.
2 things right here. 1, 4th week in a row, you're relitigating the same point.
Not done yet.
I know. I'm sure this will go to the finale. You're going to keep the streak alive. 2, let's not forget that other side is still the one that is just loaded with advantages. Idols and legacy advantages and just everything.
Quick note on that. They're actually not as loaded as they once were. And not just because Sierra just handed one over.
Now, yes.
Once Sarah defected, Ty defected too. So really, they got one. Well, they got 2 people and 1 idol. We're still treating it like it's this big thing because we kind of feel like these are tools that will get rid of, Cirie, Andrea, Aubrey, the people we care about. But that again, they had all the advantages in the world. They had some numbers, and one thing didn't go their way, and that's it. They had nothing. They had no counter moves other than, please don't vote for me. I'll vote for whoever you tell me to. So, yeah, kind of seems like an alliance that might have been worth underestimating.
Yes. Or actually, properly estimating, I guess you could say.
Exactly. So the criticism, as I said then, as I will say always, is not that he wanted to do it, it's that he failed at doing it. And, it doesn't look good on you when you're outsmarted by Sierra and Debbie. So yeah. I do think Sierra, signed her own death warrant with her actions. And and even if it's not true, I'm just gonna believe it because it's nice to believe it. And it was a great story told by the episode, highlighted by Michaela saying, oh, just don't do anything. We got the votes. And then Sierra, just gotta do something.
Yeah, no, I want to be specific. Michaela said, act regular to her, which was a beautiful callback. I was like applauding my TV when it happened. Like, yes, that's right. Turn it back on her.
Yeah, I guess it's like, you don't even need Sarah. You don't need her. Just, you got the numbers. Just take those numbers, talk to Sarah afterwards. I don't think Sarah would have felt deeply betrayed that you voted out Andrea. And if she does feel deeply betrayed, then she's not going to help you vote out Andrea. If Andrea was that so essential to her, to Sarah's plans, then Sarah's not with you and is never going to be with you. So yeah, you didn't need that. You didn't need to tell her the extra step of the legacy advantage, which is all that Sarah needed to flip Michaela back on you. So, bravo, Sierra. I'm so happy you got cast on this season. They sure proved the haters wrong. I think that's enough on her. We should talk about somebody who actually did something good.
Well, we should maybe talk about Michaela and Ty because we've been discussing them as a voting block. This was an interesting thing. Like, this was not something I saw coming, but it sort of makes sense when you think about it because both of them are basically on the bottom of their respective alliances, and now they're essentially new besties. Ty, as you mentioned, got all the votes against him last week, so he was more than willing to flip on that group, as he should. Michaela has always been basically the silenced voice in her alliance. So, it's good for her to finally make inroads with someone else besides Cirie in this game, that we can see at least. So, I like this. I like this pairing.
Yeah, I like the pairing. I like, and obviously it was brought on by that side brilliantly, underlining and highlighting that Michaela is not as important to them as everybody who else got chosen for the reward. I actually think Brad played that really well. And, his alliance keeps breaking him. Brad. And he's like, why do you think I'm making this decision? He didn't say a word. He's like, I'm going to barbecue with Monica and I'm going to let these guys dig their own grave. So yeah, I like the pairing because they're both kind of the same spot. Oh, we're the least valuable members of our alliance. What I don't like is their decision. I don't know why they decided Sierra versus Andrea. And the story they give is that Michaela was worried about the legacy advantage. To Michaela's, credit is not a word. To be fair to Michaela, she doesn't know what the legacy advantage is. Everybody's like, oh, they had it on her season. And she was like touring the Philippines or whatever by that point. Well, they probably didn't ship them all the way to Asia. Bad geography there. But yeah, she was long gone. And she only had 2 weeks before season. Even if she was able to decompress with her former castmates in that 2 weeks while she's, desperately trying to get her life back in order to ship back out. Do you think, oh yeah, at Final 6, Ken played an idol he didn't need to that we never knew existed is going to be the headline? I think it's probably they're going to be talking about how, oh yeah, we totally voted for Adam. Good for him. So I don't think it came up, what the legacy advantage is, the fine details. Frankly, I don't think anybody but Ken understood what it was anyway. The whole giving it up. Nobody but Ken probably knew unless he's told people that Jessica had it at some point.
Right, that it had transferred to him at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that she doesn't know what the legacy advantage does. But ultimately, I would be less worried about Sierra having a single-use advantage than I am about Andrea's existence being an advantage.
Yes. I mean, if you're comparing relative strengths against each other, I would gladly go up against Sierra over Andrea in just about any competition in Survivor.
Yeah, especially because, if you do this, you're not going up against Sierra. She's, in your alliance, so, cool. Now, I get, worrying that you're at the bottom of the alliance, so this thing could be turned on you. Especially, and I didn't, watch the scene closely enough. If Sarah didn't mention that it's a Final 6 type deal, I kind of feel like she kept the details vague. Big ups to her. But, yeah, it's Andrea winning challenges constantly is probably a bigger advantage. Sierra's a single time use. Andrea's already won 2 challenges and, could win again. So if you want to take out Andrea, and I feel like if you're Michaela, you should want to take out Andrea, even if it's just take out Andrea and then, get back with Cirie so that you separate the Andrea-Cirie combo and strengthen the potential Michaela-Cirie combo and even better, Michaela-Cirie tie trio. So I think they should have just taken out Andrea, as much as I'm glad that they didn't.
Yeah, the problem with that line of thinking though is that if you're Michaela, do you want to get to the end with Cirie?
Do you want to get there with Andrea? Would you like to get there with Sierra Dawn Thomas?
Yes. That's the thing is I don't know that you necessarily want to make Ty and Cirie your core alliance. I mean, they are out of necessity for her because that's who she can align with. But I think you would much rather have yourself surrounded with people like Brad and Troy and Sierra and I guess in theory now Aubrey. The people who just seem very beatable.
Yeah, but that's not what they ultimately did. And it's just right. And in the episode, you see Michaela talking about it, even that for her and Ty's new thing to actually have an advantage, they need to press the advantage and keep the numbers balanced. If they were truly thinking of playing the middle. That moment I feel like maybe they just hadn't made their final decision. But that decision's made now. The best that Ty could do is go into a 4-4 without Sarah's help, right?
You say that, and yet you're forgetting that Ty has 2 idols.
But Michaela doesn't know this!
No, but Ty knows this. So that's my point is they can much more successfully play the middle if they wanted to because of those idols. I actually don't think that Ty plans to use them that way. I think he's going to be very traditional and just hold them off until he can use it for 2 votes in a row.
Yeah, and frankly, I think he should. As exciting as it would be if you do all this, or even, as nerve-wracking as it will be that, oh my god, a Final 6, and, only the people we don't like will be, or only the people we like will not be immune. I don't see why he should protect anybody but himself. People maybe aren't realizing that Ty can play his idol at Final 5 too. So, 6 and 5 seems like a good spot for him, especially with the message that was sent to him last week.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it was a bad move by Michaela, especially. It should have taken one more out of that side, because now you're both still the valuable swings. They can't swing back to Brad and, who's that other guy?
Dong of Troy.
Yeah, they can't. That's a 4-4 split now. They totally lost the advantage by keeping Andrea and getting rid of Sierra Dawn Thomas.
However, if they happen to have if they happen to have Sarah on their side that they think they can work with, they might not see it as a 4-4 split.
Sure, but, this back to where I was actually trying to transition to. That makes this a good move for Sarah, not a good move for Michaela and Ty. They've surrendered what was, consolidated power amongst themselves at the best case scenario, split it out to Sarah too, because they could have had Sarah anyway. All they had to do, she was trying to get Sarah. Well, we're going to vote out Andrea. Sarah makes his other case. We should get rid of Sierra because of this advantage. And, if you're playing from a position more strength, you're like, nah, we can do that later. Let's get rid of Andrea now. But no, Sarah's playing great. The fact that Sierra Dawn Thomas trusted her enough in that moment, which in Sierra's words now, she doesn't understand why she did it. She wasn't planning on telling Sarah that in the first place. Clearly, Sarah has, skills that gets people to open up to her. And, this is one of those instances where people are always saying, oh, my job prepares me in this way because, I sit at a desk and write all day. I'll be really prepared for these sort of things. I think actually her interrogation skills as a police officer seem to be helping her because people just tell her stuff that they shouldn't. So that was awesome. Getting Michaela to flip back to what apparently Sarah wanted was awesome. Sierra buying that Sarah was so broken up about her going home that she did give her the legacy advantage, which is 100% what Sarah was trying to do, because of course she knew about it. Brilliant. Sarah's playing great.
Yes. As I said, the only disappointing thing is that not only is she approaching the game like the police officer she is, she's also approaching confessionals like the police officer she is, and it's very by the book. I approached the suspect calmly from the left-hand side of the vehicle, just so clinical, not a whole lot of enthusiasm or emotion in her voice, and it's just disappointing to watch a game being played this well. And to be clear, she's rode the middle here fairly well, phrasing.
About as well as anybody ever has, really.
Yeah, I mean, it should be an exciting thrill ride. Wow, how is Sarah just walking this tightrope? But it just doesn't feel that way because she is not selling it as well as she should.
Yeah, and I think it's totally in the sell. I think, one of the reasons people reacted as strongly against Zeke, along with the fact that, results-based thinking and that he turned against the people they liked, is that he sold himself and his move. I'm going to do all this big stuff, and then when he falls flat, where, the instinct is be like, ha ha, you suck. Whereas she isn't, right? I mean, she's trying. That's the other thing. She's not actually being humble or anything. She's trying to talk the big game. She just doesn't have it in her. She's not a charismatic person. So what's going to happen is if she ends up being the winner of the season, which is looking likely, we're going to have, Sarah Lacina winning the season by flipping multiple times, burning her closest allies pretty early into the merge, and playing possibly multiple advantages. And the big takeaway for a lot of people are going to be see, you don't need big moves to win Survivor.
And that's the thing is, she doesn't seem like the big moves player because she's so understated. And I think it's going to make people not remember her as someone who's making these big moves.
But yeah, she is making the biggest moves in this game and consistently has been from Aussie on. Aussie, that was her. I mean, it wasn't attributed to her in that episode, but she was the one who actually flipped all the way and voted out Aussie. Then she flips all the way back and gets rid of Debbie. And then she cuts her closest person that she kept saying in Zeke. And then she betrays Sierra Dawn Thomas while getting her to hand over an advantage. This is big stuff. If this was Tony doing it, everybody would be like, oh my God, he's, like a Tony we'd never seen
He's
before.
a god.
Well, no, what they'd be doing is you and I would be like, Tony is a god, and everybody else would be saying, there's no way you can win by playing this erratically.
Exactly. No, he's getting a villain edit. He can't possibly win. Let's relish in the time we were right.
But that's what she's doing, and she's saying it. I'm gonna be a criminal. It just doesn't register that way because she's got this soothing tone, Midwestern tone that's just like, see, Survivor, you don't gotta play hectic. You don't gotta do big things. You just gotta be relaxed, man. And like, again, she's making great social connections. Phenomenal. Like, the person she voted out just handed her an advantage. That's bigger than like Reynolds handing the idol over to the guy who voted for her. Him.
Not quite. It's near that level though.
Well, like, on paper, like, again, it doesn't feel like that way because Malcolm has charisma and, sway, and it was in the moment. But it's like, she should have known. How do you not know that Sarah just voted you out? The math isn't that hard. But Sarah completely tricked her because in that moment, Sierra didn't feel like Sarah could ever do that to her because of the, fantastic social work that, Sarah has done and because of her acting job. And I will say, the main takeaway I want to give, from this is to give Sarah a lot of praise. I still do think, and, I talked about this last week, she's able to do these things because people underestimate her in a way that nobody else would. The threats, even if they had the ability to do what Sarah's doing socially, people have their guard up with them. Nobody has their guard up with Sarah. To her credit, she's making sure that's true, and she's using it to her every advantage.
Yeah, I should point out, if she was playing this exact same game last season, they would have taken her out because essentially that's the type of stuff that Zeke was doing.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah, and it's just because she's not drawing a target on herself, but she's doing big moves, and bravo for her. And I guess this also proves that not all big moves are exciting.
All right, speaking of not very exciting, let's talk Sierra Dawn Thomas legacy. It's that time. We have a new player voted out. We have to talk about their legacy in this game. And oh boy, it is finally time for us to share our thoughts on the Sierra Dawn Thomas legacy.
Yeah, it's her biggest moment, her signature moment in the history of Survivor. Sierra Dawn Thomas. And then there was, I mean, there's that GIF and.
There was.
She said that she was going.
Didn't she? No, that was
somebody else. She was Beast Mode Count.
There were, if you your debt. No, that's Abby. No.
Just give me a minute. I got this. It's there. Just,
didn't she wear like a cowboy? No, that was Rick.
All right. I got something. It's this episode, right? It's her having an advantage that, is right 100% in her wheelhouse. Sit there, do nothing. There's only one decision to make and completely screwing it up. That's the Sierra Dawn Thomas legacy.
It is pretty magnificent that the legacy advantage went to someone that absolutely does not have any kind of legacy in Survivor. I gotta say, wow, what a different Sierra we saw this time than last time, right?
Clearly. And that's everybody's like, oh, she played so much better. I don't buy that for a second. She just found herself in a better situation. Not due to a lot of her own maneuvering. To give her some level of credit and jokes aside, she got Malcolm out. That was, her doing. In the sense that, she made sure her side was voting for Malcolm. JT, did the most work in getting Malcolm out.
That's what I'm saying is that's not her. She merely existed there, which is a skill she's clearly honed well over her Survivor career.
Well, I'm saying her tribe wanted to vote for Sandra and she made sure it was Malcolm. That said, it's like, that's, whatever. Getting out Sandra also probably would have been pretty good. But I think Malcolm was better because it made that team lose. So that's something. But again, that's just because she was in a group that wanted her to be a part of it. It's not, like, oh, she really learned how to play Survivor this time.
And that's essentially my moment for her, was that Ty played an immunity idol on her. And again, this is going back to the earlier discussion of the season as a whole. Like, just that one thing, Sierra actually being saved there, kept her from her inevitable legacy as a pre-merge boot, and instead took out Malcolm, which probably also then took out Sandra. Those players could have been with us a lot longer. Just makes me dislike Sierra even more.
Yeah, just her existence in this season kind of set the ball rolling down the hill and not a momentum type basis. Right. Yeah, so there we go. That's what we got for Sierra Dawn Thomas. Bravo. So the other big event this episode was the family visit.
Oh boy, emotions and hugging and things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we talk on brand that we're not into emotion, but I'm also somebody who doesn't do the internet tough guy thing of like, oh, why do people get upset or anything? But, like, was this the most drawn-out family visit ever?
Didn't it seem like that thing took like 20 minutes? Yes. I was like, let's wrap this thing up. Like, I get it. I think part of it was just that it was so over-narrated by Probst. I mean, he's said in many interviews, like, no, this is never going away, the family visit. I love it. It's instant emotion. It's so great. And, yeah, fine. I have no heart either, but I occasionally will be like, oh, that was a fun moment. This one was just, man, Probst is making everyone force a narrative of how important this relationship is, not just letting the story breathe. It was not great.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people are rightly talking about, like, enough Probst. But I almost wonder if it's just, like, another example of the symptoms of what I'm talking about. Maybe Probst does this every time, but we just gotten more of it in our television episode because these people are boring and not having fun. So, like, I don't know if he overdid it this time or if it's just, like, this is the best they got. Because, like, the actual interactions, some were really nice. Suri and her son were really nice. Sarah's reaction. Ty,
Ty was good.
Like, it's nothing to write home about. I don't know if it's like, top 10,
Oh, no.
Moments.
That's the ones that jumped out to me was also Suri and then Ty.
And like, we get the moment that people have been talking about, Brad and Monica. Honestly, it didn't seem like that big a deal. I enjoyed seeing them, barbecuing and talking strategy. Somebody on our site, I believe, was talking like, picturing them like this is them gossiping about the neighbors. But it wasn't that big a deal, which actually kind of gets into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is like the only discussion because of the edit is who's going to win, Brad or Sarah. And people are digging inside, and I want to say, right away, I don't really care. I'm not invested. What I am invested in is the idea that it's obvious on either side. That's bull. And the people who are saying it, and I feel like right now it's more the Sarah side that's saying it, like lock it down, 100% guaranteed. You might be right. She might win. In fact, right now, I would say she's more likely to win than not.
So would I.
So, but you're lying if you're saying that it's 100% locked down, completely obvious. That's just people doing that thing where it's like, oh, I'm really going to mark my territory. It feels so good to be right early. No, it's there. And why I say that is, she's looked really good, much better than Brad of late in the story, right? Brad's not been heavily involved. He hasn't been like as ignored as say Ken was last season, post-merge, but the story hasn't been there. I would say a big part of it is, he's been, as we kind of mentioned, taking straight L's since Ozzy left home, right? But all of Sarah's edit, maybe not all, most of her edit is plot-based. These are things that make sense to include in the edit, whether she wins or loses. She is driving the action of the season. I don't think they're just making that up because she won. It really seems like she is the fulcrum of which a lot of these things are turning. Some of her biggest character work have been in moments that would be on the season anyway. They were at a challenge, in the middle of a challenge. So those things get aired, typically. They were, Zeke's big, tribal council. Again, tribal council, and one of the biggest moments in the history of the show, for better or worse. So these are all plot-based reasons that, like, she looks good. She looks like she's playing the best game out there. But does she look markedly better? Like, I'll even say she looks better than everybody else out there. But does she look markedly better than Dave looked last season? Does she look better than Aubrey looked in her first season?
Let me ask you this. Do you know if Sarah is an interior decorator?
I do not.
Do you know if Sarah is out there questioning how her husband would play this game?
I was not completely informed via the show that she had one. Or that she had a child even. Like, that came up for the first time this episode.
So you're saying you don't remember seeing a hashtag "what would Sarah's husband do" on the screen at any point this season?
I don't recall, no.
That is interesting. Very interesting. I am going to agree with you. I think it is, if I had to lean one way, I'd say Sarah right now is the clear leader. I'm not going to rule Brad out, though.
Yeah, because here's the thing, and where I was like transitioning from the Monica Brad reunion is when it started to seem like it's more turning towards Sarah. When I was trying to figure out what exactly was the point of all that Brad shine that we got pre-merge, the things you're hinting at. And especially the episode right before the merge where, they're all sitting around talking about how hard everything is, which is the precursor of just showing that, like, we hate being out here. We had Cirie and Aubrey finally getting to talk about, and what they're talking about is how much they liked Brad Culpepper.
Yep.
I will say Cerie's did merge a bit with, like, a storyline of, missing her sons, and, that then continues with a challenge of wanting to prove something to her sons, and that caps off with this family reunion. What I was telling myself when it started to look like, okay, maybe Brad, that wasn't a winner's edit, is they're building towards the Brad-Monica reunion. And if that's what they were building towards, meh.
What a dud.
Like, it just wasn't that emotional, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like this triumphant moment. This isn't Spencer finally getting to tell his girlfriend he loves him, which is kind of like, hey, honey, you're doing great, and let's talk a bit about it. So I don't think that was what it was. So I'm still at a loss for what that Brad stuff was if it's not winner. And I know, like, a lot of people were like, oh, they're building him up to be the 4th place finisher. I don't feel like they are. Like, he could finish 4th place for sure. But they're not building him up to be that underdog we're hoping does something. He's still kind of like an obstacle towards the people that we like, right?
Right.
He hasn't gotten that, we're pulling for him. So it's like, it's hard to figure out what that stuff was about if it's not about him winning. It might not be. I'm not saying it necessarily was, but that's why I can't count him out, because it just seems so completely out of place. Whereas all of Sarah's stuff, you include that whether she wins or not, I feel, as long as she does well. And she's going to do well. But yeah, I feel like her edit isn't more winnery than, and that's the term I just decided to make, than David, than Aubrey, than maybe Spencer and Cagayan. I'd say it's probably better than Kelly Wentworth, but it's around there. It's the edit of this person's done really well. And if you just look flat at it, it's also a high chance, or maybe not high, it's likely that's a jury full of betrayed people, and they don't always vote for the person who betrayed them.
Yeah, I think you could probably count a few votes for Sarah already, but I'm not going to say that Brad's not getting any votes. I think I just double negatived that one.
Well, see, I think it's more likely they're not going to be in the same jury, Right. We never get that, right? I think one of them is going to be in front of the jury, and the other one is going to just miss.
Yeah, one of them is going to be on the jury.
Yeah. And I almost feel like Sarah's might feel more like the final person, that great player who gets taken out right away. There's a long list of people. Cirie has been that person multiple times, right?
Yep.
Where the edit, really loved them, told their story, showed how they were controlling the game, and then they just came up short. I mean, literally, that was David's. And, many of us were convinced that was a winner's edit for David.
Yep.
Except for the people who were convinced it was a winner's edit for Ken.
Yes. Well, he was CPP3 and that, whatever. I really just, on a quick note about the Brad and Monica thing, like, did they just get an outsized reputation from the silly ass little in-jokes among Survivor fans? Like, there did seem to be people that were clamoring for this Brad and Monica reunion thing. And I mean, I don't really like Brad Culpepper. I also don't hate him. I mean, completely indifferent to the guy, and to Monica. I don't like them ironically. I don't like them unironically. I don't hate them. They're just there on Survivor, but they got this, like, there were a bunch of jokes like, oh, I can't wait to see the, Brad and Monica, third Personika. It's going to be so fun. Really? I don't see why you would have looked forward to that. I didn't ever get any impression from either of them that they were going to be something I'd look forward to on my TV.
I agree with you completely. I think some people, including people on our site, have made, actually a really nice, compassionate case for Monica Culpepper, feeling her story about how she, was tired of living in Brad's shadow, and this is her way to step up. In fact, some people are like, and now it's so unfortunate, especially when it looked like he was going to win.
Yep.
But I'm like, well,
the shadow again.
If Survivor is your thing, then maybe you don't invite your football player husband on with it, right? It's like, oh, I'm so bummed that my wife is going to beat me in the fantasy league because that was my thing. It's like, you don't invite her on then. That's how it works. If you want something to be your thing, you got to keep it your thing. And, so it's like, yeah, I understand some level of, sympathy with her. At the same time, like, she only got on Survivor not once, but twice because of Brad. So, it kind of plays both ways. It's like, they seem like lovely people. Whatever.
Yep. Exactly. They're nice, but a bunch of nice people are not people that I would enjoy on Survivor.
Yeah, it was like good for Monica. She did well. She won challenges. She made it to the end. And frankly, I don't think there was like a move for her to make to improve her chances in Blood versus Water. She still wasn't interesting. She wasn't interesting at all. She's a neat lady.
She is that. I will not dispute that in any way. Yeah, I was going to make some comment about how Probst said that everyone knows who Monica is. And really, does everyone know who Sherry from Caramoan is? That's roughly the level that Monica's on. She's slightly higher than that, but, it's not like she's the household name of Survivor fans.
No, I mentioned this in comments. Not everybody standing on that beach knew who Monica Culpepper was. I'm sure Sierra Dawn Thomas had heard Brad enough about her. She knew, like, oh yeah, Monica, his wife, he played on Survivor. That's how he got on. I get that. I don't think Michaela knew who she was at all. So I was like, she's not a legendary player.
Yeah, I have no doubt that Brad on that beach was constantly name dropping Monica, and I totally get it as a husband because you're hoping, like, please just let the cameras catch me talking about how great my wife is. This would be great. Let this make the air. So I'm sure he was constantly talking about her. So they knew in that sense, but I'm sure that half of them could not have picked her out of a lineup.
I don't really get what you're talking about. I bring up my wife from time to time on the podcast because I love and appreciate her, and she's actually truly my better half. Happy Mother's Day! And
I actually end up editing out all the extra praise that you heap upon her because it's just, sometimes it gets to be too much.
Too much, yeah. And, I should find the rough cuts. Yeah, no, it's the same. It's like, yeah, they're fine, but let's cool it with the, Rob's goddess Monica talk that somehow has sprung up. And I guess it's just because people are trying to reconcile, like, Brad Culpepper's return that are like, let's not talk about him, let's talk about Monica. But it's like, we don't really need to talk about Monica that much. I get the impression that Probst is all in on them.
Oh, he loves them.
Yeah, well, I mean, Probst is just a little bit older than them. So it's easy for him to be like, oh, that, they still make women that way, they don't all have to be younger than me, but preferably, I think he dates younger. So yeah, no, he's all on them, in on them, and the Codys is like the all-American ideal that's very Probstian, but I don't know why suddenly everybody else kind of got on that too. They're nice, they're fine, they're whatever.
Yeah.
Alright, next week is the penultimate episode of the season, and there are 8 players left.
Which means that we must be losing 2 of them. If you're good at math, which I know you're not, I'll carry the load on this one. We probably got to get to the finale with 6 people. That means we got to take out 2 in this episode. So which 2 are going home, Andy?
I kind of just want to say Andrea twice because we got to get it at some point, right?
One of these times, right?
I almost wonder if, like, in future seasons we have to, like, implement a rule, like, no, you can get 3 strikes in a row and then you have to pick somebody else. I'm going to go one more time. I think Andrea is the first of the 2 booths, which will mean that she will be the second. It's the one time I can't just keep predicting Andrea. So what I think will happen is Brad will win immunity, and so Troy will be nervous. Oh no, it's gotta be me. He'll play his idol, and Michaela, Ty, and Sarah will already have flipped on Andrea, and it'll be completely wasted idol.
Yes. I like that story. All right. Who's the second boot?
Aubrey, because, this would make sense to tuck her in as the second boot, 2-boot episode.
Damn.
And
this is my exact prediction. Basically, Andrea has a story that's already been told. Aubrey does not. So you could easily squeeze those both into the same episode. I will throw out this as a dark horse, though. What if it's an Aubrey and Troy boot episode? What would our listeners do in that scenario? Like the ecstasy of the Troy boot with the agony of losing Aubrey. It'd be interesting to watch. I think I'm going to keep that as a dark horse. I think we're right. I think it's Andrea and Aubrey in some order in this week. But
now to keep in mind, for the Stilly Predictions Challenge, you have to do it in a row. So I'm Andrea, then Aubrey.
Yes, and I'll concur, because I feel like you don't take out Aubrey first. You would always take out Andrea first.
Yeah, unless Andrea wins immunity. So that's what's going to happen. And we're going to be right, but not right still, because we can never correctly predict when Andrea's going home. All right, that's it for this week. As always, we have a website. It's www.purplerockpodcast.com. This week we debuted a new fun feature.
Oh, it was so fun. We had a quiz for the very first time, BuzzFeed style. And we will actually have another one again next week if you enjoyed that. This one was very self-indulgent. It was, which Purple Rock Pod staffer are you? You can find that on our site. We encourage you to take it and then tell us who you got.
Tell us that you got Emma.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
We'll move on from there.
Little spoiler alert here. It's kind of weighted so that you'll get Emma.
Yeah, in a way that, I don't think she intended, and we didn't realize. Because we have this idea, you and I are like, this is an awesome opportunity for us to make fun of ourselves. So we just kept going in and giving all this stuff.
Yes.
And what ended up happening is, so many undesirable things for us.
Yeah, essentially, we played on a whole lot of in-jokes about ourselves, and the people that...
And we forgot to do that for Emma.
Yeah, the people that went out of this the most unscathed were Emma number 1, and then Matt and Mark were second tier, and then we were just burned so badly that basically no one could get us.
I mean, we still burn Mark a lot. So it's just and so the big learning for us coming out of this is we do not make fun of Matt enough.
Yes, that was the conclusion we reached.
Yeah, we make fun of Emma plenty, but it's about the same 3 things. And we screwed that up in this, quiz. Because our intention was to make fun of her eating habits, but then we put her eating habits in a completely, rational and, environment. It's oh yeah, sure, of course you'd eat fries in that scenario. So it's we might do this again just so that we can make fun of Emma, better. This has been a great learning opportunity. And if we do it all again, I'm sure you'll all just get Emma anyway.
Yes.
Emma is very much the no whammies of this. Somebody's press and submit. They're come on, big money, no whammies. Oh good, Emma. She's the one we doesn't annoy us very often.
Exactly. She is far more relatable than any of us. I will say this is not the quiz that's coming up next week. This coming week will be one that's Survivor related. I hope you enjoy it. I'm the one that did it. I'm actually finishing it up. I'm perfecting it as much as I can. And like I said, hope you enjoy it. If you want to find us on Twitter, Purple Rock Pod is the show. I'm Purple Rock John. He's Purple Rock Andy. And
she's Purple Rock Emma, your new best friend.
Right. The one that all of you are is Purple Rock Emma. And of course, if you want to subscribe to the show, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, probably other places. Anything else, Andy?
Happy birthday, Purple Rock Emma from Andy, the most thoughtful member of this site.
That's what it's like when a woman wants a baby.